I'd been planning my husband's birthday party for weeks, actually, more like months. He was turning 40, and I wanted it to be something he'd never forget. I booked a small private room at his favorite steakhouse, ordered a custom cake, and even got his college friends to fly in as a surprise. Everything was perfect. That morning, the house was buzzing. I'd asked our maid, Lila, to help decorate the living room before we left for the restaurant. She'd been with us for almost a year, quiet and efficient, honestly, one of the few people I trusted around the house. I remember smiling as I watched her tie the last balloon to the chair. Then, around 11 a.m., while she was in the kitchen, her phone buzzed on the counter. Normally, I'd never snoop. But the notification caught my eye. It was a message preview, and my husband's name flashed right there on her screen. At first, I thought it had to be something innocent. Maybe he was asking her to pick something up for the party, or helping coordinate a surprise for me. But when the next message popped up, my stomach dropped. It said, "Greater than, don't forget to delete everything before tonight. She can't find out." I froze. My hands started shaking. The excitement of the day turned into a knot of dread in my chest. I told myself there had to be some explanation, but deep down, something told me I wasn't going to like what I was about to find out. I stood there, staring at Lila's phone, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear anything else. The message preview was still on the screen, taunting me. My hands felt sweaty, my throat dry. I told myself not to look, that it wasn't my business, but my instincts wouldn't let it go. When I heard her humming softly from the kitchen sink, I knew I had maybe 30 seconds before she came back. I tapped the screen, and her phone unlocked instantly. No password, no hesitation, almost like she didn't think she had anything to hide. But she did. Their chat was right at the top, my husband's name, saved with a little red heart emoji. My heart sank. I opened it. The thread went back months. Flirty messages, pictures I wish I'd never seen, and voice notes labeled, "Last night." They'd been talking, no, seeing each other, for months, under my own roof. I felt my knees weaken as I scrolled. It wasn't just an affair, it was calculated. She talked about me, about things only someone living in my house would know. What time I left for work, when I came home, even small complaints I'd made about him. And then, one message stood out among all the filth. "Greater than, she's throwing me a big party tonight. You'll get your gift before she does." Winking face. My stomach turned. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or throw her phone into the sink. But I didn't do any of that. I just stood there, shaking, while Lila came back into the room, smiling, holding a tray of cupcakes. She had no idea I'd seen everything. I don't even remember how I managed to stay calm when Lila walked back into the room. She looked so normal. Her hair tied back, apron on, smiling as if nothing in the world was wrong. My fingers clenched around my phone to keep from shaking. "Mrs. Harper, do you want me to start loading the gifts into the car?" she asked sweetly, her voice the same tone she always used. I forced a smile and nodded. "Sure, Lila, that would be great." She turned away, humming again. That same tune, something cheerful, irritatingly happy. My stomach twisted tighter with every note. I watched her go about her work, the same woman who had apparently been sleeping with my husband under my own roof. While she was outside, I quickly took screenshots of everything, every message, every picture, every disgusting word, and sent them to myself. My hands were trembling, but my mind was crystal clear now. I needed proof. I needed to make sure I wasn't crazy before I burned everything to the ground. When she came back inside, I had already made up my mind. There would be no party, no cake, no happy birthday dinner. Instead, I texted my husband. "Greater than, can you come home for a minute before the party? I forgot something important." He replied instantly. "Greater than, sure babe, just left the office. 15 minutes. Perfect." I turned to Lila and said, "Hey, can you stay a little longer today? I might need help setting up a few more things." She smiled, that same fake, innocent smile, and said, "Of course, ma'am." If only she knew what was coming. those 15 minutes felt like hours. Every tick of the clock echoed through the house like a warning. I sat on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone, but in reality, I was staring at those screenshots again and again, letting the anger sink in deep enough that it replaced the hurt. Lila was in the kitchen arranging plates, completely unaware that her world was about to collapse. She even asked if I wanted her to iron my husband's shirt for the party. The nerve of her, touching the shirt of the man she was betraying me with. When I heard his car pull into the driveway, my heart started pounding again, this time from pure adrenaline. I didn't know exactly what I was going to say, all I knew was that I wasn't going to stay silent. "Lila," I called out softly, "can you come to the living room for a second?" She appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel, smiling politely. Seconds later, my husband walked in, still in his work clothes, keys jingling in his hand. He looked surprised to see her there. "Oh hey, didn't expect you to still be here, Lila," he said casually. Her smile faltered for just a moment, barely noticeable, but I caught it. My pulse quickened. I stood up slowly, clutching my phone. I thought it'd be nice if we were all here, since we've all been so close lately. He frowned. "What do you mean?" I took a step closer, opened my phone, and turned the screen toward him. The color drained from his face as the messages appeared before his eyes. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. And then Lila gasped. "Ma'am, I can explain." "Don't," I cut her off, my voice trembling but firm. "You've both said enough. I saw everything." The room went dead silent. The only sound was the faint buzz of the refrigerator in the background. Finally, I whispered, "There's no party tonight. There's nothing to celebrate." My husband just stood there, frozen, pale, his eyes darting between me and Lila like a trapped animal. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. That silence told me everything I needed to know. "So it's true," I said, my voice cracking just enough to reveal the pain I'd been holding back. "You and her, under my roof. While I was planning your birthday party." "Please, it's not what you think," he started, stepping forward. "Oh, really?" I snapped, shoving the phone into his chest. "Then maybe you can explain these pictures. Or maybe the part where she tells you, you'll get your gift before she does." What was that supposed to mean? His face went red. He looked down, shame all over him, but still couldn't say a word. Lila started crying, fake, soft sobs that only made me angrier. "Ma'am, please," she said through tears. "I didn't mean for this to happen. He told me you two weren't happy anymore." "Stop lying," I yelled. My voice cracked the air like a whip. "You clean my floors, fold my clothes, and sleep with my husband behind my back, and you're saying you didn't mean for it to happen." She flinched, lowering her head, still crying. My husband finally spoke, his voice small and pathetic. "It was a mistake, okay? It just happened. I didn't want to hurt you." That made me laugh. A bitter, hollow laugh that didn't sound like it came from me. "You didn't want to hurt me. You've been living this life for months. You made me look like a fool in my own home." I turned to Lila, my hands trembling but steady enough to point toward the door. "Get out, right now. You're fired." She hesitated for a second, looking at my husband as if waiting for him to stop me. He didn't. Not a word. Just stood there, looking like he wanted to disappear. Lila grabbed her bag and ran out without another word, leaving behind the faint scent of her cheap perfume, the same one I'd been smelling on his shirts for weeks without realizing it. When the door slammed shut, I finally looked at him again. "I canceled your party," I said coldly. "You don't deserve one." The house felt unnaturally quiet after Lila left, like the air itself was holding its breath. My husband stood by the window, still trying to come up with something to say. I could see his reflection in the glass, a man who suddenly looked smaller, weaker, like someone I didn't even know anymore. I sank onto the couch, feeling the exhaustion hit me all at once. Weeks of planning, cooking, decorating, all for a man who couldn't even be honest with me. My hands were trembling, my heart pounding in my chest. The anger was still there, but underneath it was something worse, humiliation. "Say something," I finally muttered. Anything. He turned around, his voice shaking. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I don't even know why it happened. It didn't mean anything. I stared at him, disbelief flooding through me. Didn't mean anything. You risked our marriage for nothing. You brought her into our home, into my life, and it didn't mean anything. He stepped closer, his eyes wet. I love you, okay. I was stupid, but I swear I ended it. It's over. I laughed bitterly. You ended it. No, I ended it. The moment I saw those messages. He fell silent, staring at the floor. I looked at the decorations, the streamers, the neatly wrapped gifts, the "Happy Birthday" banner hanging above the doorway. It all felt like a cruel joke now. Without saying another word, I stood up, grabbed the banner, and ripped it down. The sound of the tape tearing off the wall echoed through the empty room. Then I walked to the cake box, opened it, and stared at the words written in blue frosting, "To the best husband ever." I picked up the cake, walked to the trash can, and dropped it in. The box slammed shut with a dull thud. He just stood there, watching. And for the first time, I didn't see the man I married. I saw a stranger. I don't know what happens next, I said quietly, but tonight, you're sleeping somewhere else. He didn't argue. He just grabbed his keys and left. And as the door closed behind him, the silence felt heavier than ever, but this time, it was mine. When the door closed behind him, the house suddenly felt enormous. Every corner seemed to echo with memories, laughter, dinners, inside jokes that now felt like lies. I stood in the middle of the living room surrounded by birthday decorations for a man who had just destroyed everything we built. At first, I tried to keep myself busy. I started taking down the streamers, picking up balloons, folding napkins, anything to stop myself from thinking. But when I found the small gift I'd wrapped the night before, a leather watch engraved with the words, "Forever yours," something in me broke. I sat on the floor and cried. Not quiet, delicate tears, but deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere raw. The kind that left you breathless. The kind that made you realize nothing would ever be the same again. Hours passed. I didn't even realize it was dark until I looked out the window and saw the reflection of my swollen eyes staring back at me. My phone buzzed a few times, messages from friends asking about the party, one from my husband saying, "Please talk to me." I didn't answer any of them. I scrolled through the photos I'd taken earlier that week, pictures of the cake, the decorations, the invitations. Everything I'd done for him. And then, the screenshots. His words, her words, their pictures, the betrayal written in plain text. That was when my tears stopped. I sat up straight and wiped my face. The pain was still there, but now it felt sharper. Cleaner, like a blade. He thought I'd break quietly, but I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. He'd ruined his birthday, but I was about to take back my life. I stood up, gathered every single reminder of him I could find, his cologne, his jacket, the framed photo of us from our wedding, and placed them all in a box. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it yet. Burn it, donate it, throw it in the street, I didn't care. But one thing was certain, by tomorrow, he wouldn't have a home to come back to.